Hello, this is an example of how to use Google Earth with XifMap in order to try to do investigations or actually to try to examine picture files from, let's say, a smartphone or some other digital device or a cache of digital photos. So what we're going to say is we have a particular group of photos. We're going to say those are here. We found them on a particular device. So obviously this is just a sample, but so what I've done is in the executable version will be a little bit different, but in essence the commands will be the same. So it's actually built right now in Python. So what we're going to do here is I've invoked Python with the actual Python program or script, if you will, and I'm saying I want to look at and I want to mark a radius point on the map. So we're going to say that that is associated in Google Earth with this particular location. I've obtained the latitude and longitude, and we're going to go ahead and cancel that. And what I have now is I've converted that to decimal degrees. The program will eventually do that. We're doing an initial release where you do have to actually go out and convert decimal degrees currently. So for instance, I put in the degrees, minutes, seconds. There's a link off of our XifMap site. And you can put that in there and it will convert those. Now keep in mind, if you have a north or a east heading on latitude, if it's north it is positive, if it is south it is negative, and if it is west on longitude it is negative, and if it's east it's positive. So what I've done here is I've taken latitude, which is north, and because that is actually very important when you do the conversions, or you'll end up on the wrong part of the globe in relation to the prime meridian and the equator. So what we're going to do here is that is positive for latitude, longitude is negative. I have actually entered that in here, and I'm saying here is my latitude and longitude. So I've done a negative addition, or times by -1 on the longitude, and I'm saying I want you to create a radius area around this point, and I want that radius area to be in miles and to be 50. All right, so after I've done that, and I have all of my images nested in a folder, and so those that folder is metadata 3. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and run this. So what this is going to do is it is actually going to sort through this cache of 70 photos. It's going to identify which ones are actually have GPS coordinates embedded within the metadata of the file itself, and then it's going to map them if it does, and it's going to also give you information on whether those picture files or images were mapped or not. So we're going to go ahead and run it because this is the best way to illustrate what this helper program can do with Google Earth. So we're going to go ahead and run that. It ran pretty quickly. So what we're showing here is, okay, as it's starting to obviously zoom out for us, I'm going to reposition this because we're pretty much done with the command line right now. So the rest of it really has to do with working within Google Earth. So I've got a photo down here in Florida. So anything outside of radius, so if we look, anything outside of that radius mark or radius zone that we defined, which is a big circle around that GPS point, gets a camera icon. If it's within the radius, it's going to get basically kind of a red paddle. So what we're saying here is, from an investigation standpoint, I want to see anything within 50 miles of that particular point. So here we are, we've got a grouping of images. It is also illustrating, based off of the lines that you're seeing, it is illustrating the, we'll say, temporal sequence of the photos being taken. So this can obviously get a little confusing, especially with the number of photos that you can run into. But what we're seeing here is we're seeing, okay, a lot of these are taken in Michigan, obviously. Our point of interest is here, which is the radius center point. So we're going to go ahead and expand this. I'm going to go ahead and close that. I'm going to scroll down. So it's telling us information on each of these. Before we get too far along, we're going to go ahead and go into the properties on the main KML file, and it's telling us that these particular items, okay, are mapped or not mapped, and why. So not mapped, no GPS info. Not mapped, non-EXIF file. So these are all notations made in the actual properties or get info on the actual KML. So those are there for your review, so you know which ones didn't make the map and why. And we can also say, okay, I want to go into photos. So for instance, let's take a look at this one. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, and Google Earth has a couple of different options here. So it is image 26, so I'm going to actually scroll down and say, okay, it's image 26. I see where it's taken. I'm going to reposition so we're facing true north on the Google Earth, and I did that by double clicking the N. So now I'm going to say, okay, I know this picture's taken here, and let's say from an investigation standpoint, we know that there was an incident that happened here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use a place mark. And so based off of other testimony or information I've gathered, I'm going to go in and say, I'm going to go ahead and add a person. I'm going to change color here. I'm going to do OK. Change that, and I'm going to put witness 1. We'll say so we're just gonna add a note here that we have that. All right, so somebody spotted our potential perp at this particular location. I'm examining digital files to try to validate what we know and what we've garnered off of digital devices. So, but here's the deal: I want to know what did they take a picture of there. So I'm gonna scroll back up here, and it is image 26. So I actually want to. What is that image? I don't know what it is. I mean, I know something is tagged there based off of those photos, but I want to see what's in the photo. So I'm going to go ahead and select the click here to fly into photo. And obviously what Google Earth is doing is it's actually bringing us into the photo. So now I get to see, okay, I'm not quite sure why they did this, why they took a picture, but obviously apparently they were driving down the road and they took a picture. So now I obviously have them in movement with what's been tagged here. Now I may want to see what the next one is, so I'm going to go into that one. And I can see now I'm outside of my radius zone, but for whatever reason I may want to know what this is and why. And so I can do that. I can zoom in actually into the photo, and I can say, whoa, there's a reflection here. Is there any additional information I can garner based off looking at the reflections in the mirror? I mean, you could garner information many different ways. So this is just an example of your options with Google Earth. So, and again, I have other photos. I have photo 3. We're going to go to photo 3, and I'm going to go ahead and fly into that one and say, okay, this is really close to my point of interest. Okay, that's kind of interesting, not what I expected, so I'm not interested in it. I'm going to go ahead and exit that. But I could say, since I entered a radius point, which is here, I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to, so this is the center point. I'm going to double click that. I'm going to go and I'm going to add evidence seized 10/31/20 2014, and we'll say 1755 was the time, and I may make other notations here. I may want to change this to no evidence seizure. We'll say acquisition. We'll abbreviate it and we'll do okay. So this is just a quick example of what you can do with targeting a radius in a grouping of images that were, or picture files I should say, that were acquired, and how you can start to tag and add other information within Google Earth. This helps you visualize and analyze that data differently. Obviously, we just sifted through 70 photos very quickly. If we go back and we take a look, those were mapped in less than 1 second, and it created a KML for you and opened it within Google Earth. So this is just a quick example of some of the power of using Google Earth in conjunction with XifMp in order to sift, sort, review image captures as far as GPS data. And we're going to wrap up here, and please look for some of our other tutorials on how to use the XifMp tool once you acquire that. Thanks.